Yeah, I mean, I think you need to walk the talk, right? If I'm going to talk about AI and talk about being an AI hub, you need to be able to say, I believe in it, I'm using it. When people get up in the morning and they go 20 different ways for school choice, the neighborhood and the community starts to suffer. We've got to fix our public schools.
I firmly believe there's going to be a business case written about Arizona in the 2040s, that we're going to be the most important place in the Western world.
I do care, and it breaks my heart sometimes when I see inequities.
Because I get to be part of a community that wants something different. And that is what, I could see the future be much more brighter because of the people involved in the community. This is the Future Human Experience. Just wrapped up the conversation with Hugh Lytle, independent candidate for the governor of Arizona. We talked about why he is so passionate about being a governor for one of the fastest growing regions in the country and the opportunity to be one of the most important regions in the Western world in the coming decades. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe, like, and share it with others. Welcome back to the Future Human Experience. I am your host, Eric Rodriguez. I am so excited for this episode because we have a very special guest today, Hugh Lytle, candidate of governor of the wonderful state of Arizona. Welcome to the Future Human Experience.
Thanks. Great to be here, Eric.
Hugh, I've had a chance to know you for the last few years, follow your leadership journey. And so when I heard that you were running for governor, it got me very excited because I know the type of leader you are, but I want the rest of the audience to know a little bit more about you. You have been in Arizona for several years. We'll talk a little bit more about your journey here, but what inspired you to raise your hand in the midst of a lot of challenges that we're seeing in not only our state but in politics to say, you know what, I want to be part of the solution?
Well, it wasn't easy. It wasn't like I wasn't expecting it, first of all. So a group came to me, a former mayor, Paul Johnson, who has got an incredible political acumen, came to me. I thought it was a healthcare meeting, honestly, because he has a healthcare company called Redirect Health, and it was really like, hey, would you be willing to run for governor? And he had a couple of people with him, and I was honored, but I thought absolutely not. I at this point, I kind of hate to say it, but like a lot of independents, maybe gave up on the system. I didn't want to hear it in the House. All it was toxic, and I was like, not interested. But I love my state of Arizona. And to know me is to know I'm a mission-driven guy. At the end of the day, it's what gets my motor going. I like to say, you just watch the movie Braveheart. A servant leader who doesn't want it but takes on, give it to me and I'll take it on. And that's what happened. I mean, we started talking about the just the ridiculous barriers that have been put up for a third-party candidate to come in and try to unite these two parties that are rowing in different directions. And it's insane. Like 5,000 ballot signatures for a Democrat, 5,000 Republican, 45,000 for a independent, not to mention signature challenges and all these just really third world banana republic things that were going on. And I'm like, you know what, that gets my engine going. Okay. We need a third voice. We need someone to step forward and actually bring citizen leadership back, bring political discourse back, bring back, debate and appreciation for, I respect that Katie Hobbs and Andy Biggs are running for office. I respect that they're public servants. We might have differences of opinion in how to do that, but it shouldn't be that either one is killing America or killing Arizona, but that's where we've gotten. So when the calling came to me and said, hey, would you be willing to do this? I had to go through several processes in my mind to decide if it was the right thing. But what was eating at me was the mission behind it. Every single time was there's something that needs to be done. And I believe if anybody can do it, it's certainly me. So.
That's wonderful, Hugh. Well, again, thank you so much for taking time to be part of this conversation. Part of your leadership style has always been about bringing others together, right? And when we talk about government and politics and having people from different perspectives, what on your journey has not only built that leadership skill, but looking at what politics can be, what is the possibility of government can be to bring all these ideas and this mesh of ideas together to be of service for a greater good?
A lot of that comes from, really comes from my background and where I came from. So, I played football when I was young, and I was a quarterback, and a big part of that football and quarterback is you're immediately in a performance business. I was in performance since I was a young kid, so I had to results are what matters at the end of the day, and then how you get there. I learned very early is a very disciplined process to do so. And you'll hear me remark frequently that success is a series of small things done well. I believe that at my core because that's how you get better as a football player, it's how you get better as a football team. Success is not overnight, but you have to do the right things the right way and what I believe for a general purpose and for a mission that makes sense. So I got it early in my life, and then I built my businesses around that. My businesses were centered around, all right, healthcare is a business of incrementalism at best when they call it innovation. It's a complex, highly regulated industry. But I figured out how to innovate, how to be a disruptor in 3 different segments of large segments of population health. And I said, that's the kind of thing government needs. It needs a blank piece of paper, and that's how I'd be looking at it. Yeah, I've got a legislature, I've got processes I've got to work with, but we would do things different in my administration. And most importantly, I would be active, just as I am with my teams. You build great teams. That's how you win anything. It's not about me. It's not about what I should be is I should be a great listener, right? I should be the one who's saying, okay, explain both sides here, Republican and Democrat, and then saying, you know what, on this case, I actually go left, or this case, I actually go right, which I think most of Arizonans would.
Yes.
But because of partisan politics, we don't get that.
Yeah.
But then you have a team that's there to say, okay, we're going to run these down for you. We're going to put together the best comprehensive proposal, work with the legislature, do what we need to do to be able to get this important piece of legislation across the line. And that's what I think I could bring to the governorship is just a disciplined, creative, innovative, and call it common sense based approach to getting things done.
Yeah. And it reminds me that sometimes that, when we see these divisions happening and these headlines happening, to a certain extent, we also feel disconnected from that. It's like we just want to get something done for us to move forward. And one of the things that you've highlighted that I've seen in your former interviews or in your most recent interviews is that you talk about how you have seen some folks feel politically homeless to a certain extent. Tell us a little bit more about your journey going around a state, listening to these different perspectives and saying, you know what, Hugh, it's great that you might be running, but I've been disconnected from this whole world for the last several years. Can you tell us a little bit more about how has that experience been and how has it been motivating you in your candidacy in this journey?
Yeah, Eric, I mean, it was shocking to me. So when we first was just my process, and I'll finish that. Just I ended up getting to the point where it came down to on running. If I'm going to run, I expect to win. So Canada hasn't won as a independent ever. We haven't had one for 40 years that was even reasonably competitive, and 25 years most recently. So, but times have changed significantly since then, right? So looking at the political landscape, I said, there's certainly an opportunity here to enter this voice that are now 30% of the electorate, bigger than the Republican Party, bigger than the Democratic Party, are independents. And there's a reason it's getting bigger, all right? As I went down that track, was really listening to everybody, people that are they're called insiders, as I'm coming to learn in politics, consultants, donors, special interests, well, they've all got their certain opinions. There's, parties and what parties have to say. And what's so refreshing about an independent is that's all interesting. I appreciate it. That's all still what I would call, industry noise.
Yeah.
Good to know, but not where the people are at.
Yeah.
And so first thing we did after I announced is we took a tour around the state. And in that tour, it was a listening tour to hear what's on people's minds. And what was shocking about that was the consistencies in what people saw as problems, which gave me, unbelievable. It made my heart just swell because I'm like, okay, there's, this is what government's about. This is what citizen representation is about. What is on your mind? What are the problems of today? And what I heard were, pretty consistently affordability in this state. I can't afford a home. I can't afford groceries. I can't afford, after school. I can't. I literally have to have my kids come home now. There's no extracurricular. There's no budget for extracurricular activities at school, so now I have to have a day sitter. That costs me money. You know, just story after story after story of challenges. And when I looked at that relative to the talking points and the things going on each of the parties, massive disconnect in what's really happening. So go back to what I was saying before about performance. As a performance guy, I need to know what's on their mind so they go, you know what, my life's better because you were governor. That's the important thing.
That's what matters. It reminds me, Hugh, of a story when we had the election in 2016. I was actually living in Oakland, California, leading an education initiative at that time. And pure coincidence, the day after the election, we had an event at one of the schools. And it was an inner city school I was working with. And the day after the election in Oakland, it was very challenging. A lot of people were very upset. They were very emotional. And I'm over here telling them, like, guys, like, we have to be of service to the students. Like, what's going on? Like, okay, an election happened. Let's move on. Like, okay, it's okay. And again, as someone that grew up in Texas, has family that's Republican, has family that's Democrat, it is what it is. But we move on. We figure out how to work together. And so I was really surprised on how emotional certain parts of the country were in that 2016 election. So it was an aha moment for me. I was like, okay, I need to step back and understand why it is what it is. But then I went to the schools and I said, let me go and talk to students and check in with them. Maybe I'm missing something. So I check in with the students. These are probably 9th graders, 10th graders at that time. I check in with them, Hugh, and I say, hey guys, are y'all okay? This election just happened. Is everything okay? You guys feeling all right? He said, Mr. Eric, it doesn't matter. I said, excuse me? Like, it doesn't matter who wins because they always ignore us. Man, Hugh, that stuck with me, right? They're 15, 16 years old. They're probably right now 26. I mean, they're voting, right? And that's their informed experience going into, in 24 months, they're going to be voting age. Yeah. And then believing that, right, that we have left certain communities behind, right? Yeah. Saying, all right, Mr. Eric, I know that you're worried about that, but I'm worried about my day-to-day. Yeah. I'm worried about my parents having a job. I'm worried about the groceries for tomorrow. I'm worried about my siblings being safe, right? Those are the things that they didn't hear themselves being spoken about, right? Yeah. In these headlines. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me, that moment. And now when I have a chance to not only get involved civilly, but in these type of opportunities to have these conversations, it is very easy to get distracted with the noise. Yeah. And I appreciate that you're taking the time to listen to the signals. Yeah. And sometimes we miss. And kids are the best best telegraph of that, right? Because they don't have the filters and the built-in. It's just, I'm going to take care of my day-to-day. And I'm not getting hurt, you know? And that's what we talk about. I'm running for the unseen and the unheard. Yeah. People have shut their TVs off or said, you know what, I'm left out. So what does it matter? Yeah. That's tragic to democracy. And it's tragic. Our democracy, I believe, hangs by a thread on any given day. We do so much now in D.C. off of executive order. We just go and do. Both in the last two administrations, just everything's in executive order. Yeah. No one seems to want to go through the process of getting congressional support for anything, including the last war we just started here. Yeah. So, these are the things that I don't want us to have to get to absolute crisis for them to change. I think the sentiment has built up enough. Now what it is it really is, how do you activate that person? That 26-year-old is now 26. Yeah. How did they go, you know what, there's a candidate now who actually will do something different. How do I get my name out there? How do I help them understand that those voices matter the most to me? Those are the ones that I represent. The active voter, the donors and people like that, they're important too. Absolutely. But they're all one vote at the end of the day, right? And but getting registered to vote, being engaged in your community, hopefully the work you did had some effect on them to get them involved, and it probably did. Yeah. It really is, in my world right now, it's how do I get communities that I have a big passion for to engage and to come forward to help me be their elected representative. And Hugh, I would say that there's not only one of the best times right now, but sometimes also one of the most challenging times right now in Arizona because we're growing so fast. It seems like all the eyes, I've been here in Arizona for the last 15 years or so, And the Oakland opportunity was a 1-year opportunity. I had a chance to leave and live somewhere else. But for the last 15 years, I have seen this entire area, not only the visibility of this place. I mean, we have not only candidates come here, presidents come here regularly now and speak. We have businesses investing tremendously here as well. So I firmly believe, and I've shared this in several avenues, that I firmly believe there's going to be a business case written about Arizona in the 2040s, that we're going to be the most important place in the Western world, or we are going to be the place that fumbled the opportunity to be the most important place in the Western world.
I agree with you on that.
Because all the signs were here. All the signs are here for us to be one of the most important and relevant places for the Western world. Can you share with us? Yeah, go ahead.
Eric, I mean, I have to tell you, that is maybe in my mind, maybe the single most important thing when I think about what my governorship would mean. There's a lot of things I care about.
Yeah.
There's only so many things you can get done in reality.
Yeah.
The absolute biggest one is that one. So first, let's just talk right now. If we just kept status quo.
Yeah.
Okay. If we just keep current governor in, current legislature, which is, if you were an odds maker, you'd say that's what will happen. We lose another 4 years of playing not to win, of just doing just enough to stay politically viable, so that whatever the governor's next job is, the resume will look good enough to go do it. I mean, that is not what I'm not saying that's our intent, but I certainly don't believe that's helpful for our state. Yeah. You have to engage, and not just engage when it's election time with charm offensives. You need to actually engage during the term. And so let's say we lost another 4. That's 8 years. It's almost a decade lost. And just like you said, we'll be writing about it and going, Arizona had all this potential. And that's why I think it's important candidates talk about, I have yet to hear it, but what their vision for the state is. Okay. Yeah. My vision for the state is is exactly how we would miss this. We have TSMC. Okay. We have Taiwan Semiconductor here. With a massive plan for investment. We have supplier economy support coming in the form of 22 companies that have committed, saying we're coming to support, whether it's gases or cleaning labs or whatever. They're going to come and support the chip manufacturer. All right, add more of those. Number one, but that's not enough to me on its own. The future of Arizona, the future of our children, and making that book the greatest place that you've ever seen, is we need to build on that. We need to build on our advanced manufacturing, aerospace. But we need to add AI. We need to have. We should be the AI hub of the country. We have the perfect environment for it. We have also data centers. You can put data centers in that as well. Data centers can be good and bad. I understand that, but if they're paying for their own power, I wouldn't speed to it, but certainly continuing to keep pace with that. Data centers, chip manufacturers, advanced manufacturing, and AI. Okay, and when I say AI, we're not likely going to get the open AIs or Anthropics or those, but if we can get the SaaS providers that build onto those LLMs, right? Get that development, have them choose Arizona because we've got incentives, we got permitting, we got things that really matter. That then brings in things like, all the cloud orchestration software, the DevOps software, the cyber security. You start to build supplier economies around knowledge-based stuff, right? So innovation, knowledge center of the country is where we should be focusing on, and we got such a head start on it. Yeah. So that would be a squandered opportunity to me. And that's why I would focus heavily. I also believe that as part of that's at a large scale, that we have to build up our entrepreneurs as well in the state.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think all eyes are on us. And so how we respond to these moments matter, right? How are we responding on getting engaged? How are we responding to representing our state?
And Eric, we also have to, there's two big suppliers to that, right? One is our education system, right? So we have to be able to create the knowledge workforce. So our universities have to be in a position. They're already making moves to be able to support that kind of a tech workforce. We also have to have the power and the renewable energy to be able to support it. So water's important right now, and under crisis. We have strong gas pipelines coming in to help support that, to offset maxing out the grid. So there's a lot of really good things going on that I think could support that infrastructure. And again, it would be a crawl, walk, run approach to it. But we've already started the crawl. So yeah.
Yeah. No, it reminds me of when I first moved here. I think probably maybe 2 years after we had moved here with my wife, we had some issues with the roof. And my wife was like, "Hey, should we replace this?" I said, "Well, no, like Tesla's working on this like really cool technology to put on the roof, and like we're in like the epicenter of like sunlight 360 days a year. Like, no, like we're gonna invest in really cool technology. Don't worry, honey. Like we're gonna have the latest and greatest tech on our roof anytime now, any moment." And it just hasn't happened. Like we're still like the renewable energy side of things has so much potential. I've just been really surprised. And I know there's challenges. Don't get me wrong. There's challenges on infrastructure and how we decide to do things. But it shows that if we are not putting, how to say this, the innovation of something that could pay off maybe 10, 20 years down the road, if we're not willing to do those and plant those seeds today, sometimes we're going to miss out.
Those companies are going to go to Kansas City or something else. And that's the problem. Like if we don't, we should, at the same time we're investing in renewable sources to be able to power supply. We've got nuclear plants on the way. We've got gas. We've got wind, solar, turbine. We've got other, but those need to be beefed up and supported with incentives for these companies to come to the state. People don't just say, "Hey, it's nice in Arizona. I'm going to go out there and build take my tech company." We have to give them. The workforce and all the tools it takes to be successful. But that takes a concerted effort, and you got to get everybody to buy into that vision and say, but think about the tax revenue. Think about what, anytime you've been involved in anything great in your life, there's growth involved, even if it's personal growth. We want to grow. We want to grow fast. We want to be the hottest place to live. And we've got to start making these kind of investments to get these companies to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Hugh, can you share with me a little bit more about what, not only your vision for Arizona, of course, that you were sharing with us about being an innovation hub for the rest of the world, but how do we become also a role model for bringing communities along that have not felt connected to what the innovation can bring, right? You just highlighted the education system. We're seeing a lot of innovation in universities, but we're also seeing, when it comes to our K-12 system, going through a lot of challenges. You have a very unique vision on how you build an infrastructure for the future of education as well. Can you share with us a little bit more about what that looks like?
Yeah, so a couple things I want to mention on that. One, let me finish that out, and then I'll talk more about the education. So when it comes to the idea I have about creating a Department of Entrepreneurship at the State House, most of the companies in Arizona are under 100 employees. We want to build this. I'd like to see us build this new innovation hub. That's going to take time, and but in the interim, we've got small companies, and we'll still have small companies even when that happens. It feels to me like the state has a responsibility to help develop these companies, whether it's access to capital, seed capital, to get these companies going and staying in Arizona, but also supporting our social entrepreneurs, our strong not-for-profit system that we've got. There are amazing things happening in that world, and there are communities that have not had the opportunity to participate in this great dream, in this great entrepreneurial thing, because they don't have access to these kind of tools. So that's another thing I do. I also like the idea of having turnaround specialists to help small businesses that are struggling restructure their debt and get back in the game and not lose those companies. Going back to education, though, none of this works if we don't have an education system that has parity and is actual solutions. So right now we seem to keep batting the ball back and forth with short-term temporary fixes of the day, right? So whether it's Prop 123 and the land trust to keep funding moving, or it's ESAs, and they're run amok now in terms of cost, and I think my personal belief is that there's a breakdown in the neighborhood. Okay, when people get up in the morning and they go 20 different ways for school choice, the neighborhood and the community starts to suffer. We've got to fix our public schools. That being said, I'm not against school choice because the product's not good. If you're in a D or F performing school district, what choice do you have as a parent? You have to do it. But what's the plan to fix the DNF? What's the A and B schools doing that the DNF aren't? And don't tell me it's just money, okay? That being said, they all need more money. So what I would say on education is that I'm doing a lot of listening on this. I'm continuing to research and get deeper. And I have found, I like to say I haven't found where all the dead bodies are buried yet. There's so many nonstop initiatives have been tried and failed, et cetera. But there's some promising new things coming, and based on data and based on an ability to improve all populations, because we can't just say, well, low income and diverse schools suffer, but that's okay. We'll just keep building up our charters for the ones that can get accepted there. We've got to find a way to just from early childhood start getting parity and getting kids in a position where they can win. So I think my answer to education is more research. I'm starting to see some promising models, but my focus would be, as governors, we are solving the root cause of the problem. We're not going to solve any more of these short-term kick the can down the road, because it's not politically something I want to talk about as a candidate and or a sitting elected representative. I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think when you come to any type of challenge with that attitude of, hey, I'm here to be of service to the community, I'm here to be of service to the next generation, regardless of the politics of today or yesteryear or tomorrow, I just know it's the right thing to do. In the long term, that will always come back. And it might not come back with a guaranteed re-election tomorrow, but if I decide to lead today because I know what's better for everyone tomorrow, it will come back in so many different ways that we cannot anticipate.
Isn't that what leaders should do, though? Like,
Correct.
If I lost a race because I took on education and people didn't like my ideas, okay, well, maybe I deserve to lose the race. But at least I took it on. What seems to continue to move forward today is we're getting so numb to this lack of accountability, this lack of performance. It's like, okay, well, all right, whatever, that's fine. Just what's the next big soupy item of the day we can talk about, instead of, we're not solving big problems. And if we're not solving big problems, what are we going to do to change that? And right now there's this mindset of just kick the can down the road. And that's that doesn't serve Arizonans. So I think any candidate, what I'd love to see for the future of politics is not just more people like me that are citizen leaders, but even the existing politicians say, you know what, I'm not going to worry about what is so politically salient at the time. I'm going to worry about what do the constituents of Arizona need right now, and what's my responsibility as a leader.
The research and development tax credit that we had the story not too long ago in one of our episodes by Lorenzo Sierra. He talks about how the research and development tax credit was very unpopular when it was coming out. But he knew that by passing that, the schools and the communities and the graduates that will come up in 10, 15, 20 years are going to be so rewarded because of that research and development investment that would happen in the state of Arizona. And today we're one of the top 10 research and development states in the entire country?
Yeah, and what you're talking about is again, another business principle put into politics. It's ROI, return on investment. So you have to make, in any business, you have a J curve. You make investments before you're profitable. And that's an example one right there. You have to make an investment, but if it's done right, you get the return. Education is a clear one. And our goal sometimes is, we talk a lot about Mississippi and so forth, and like, our goal shouldn't be to move 4 or 5 points up. It should be to leapfrog back in the upper quadrant, at least top quarter of schools. And I think we have the potential to do it. We have some of the brightest. We have a smart and assimilated, upwardly mobile Latino population. Just need the funding and need the appropriate modifications and reforms to get the school system moving in the right direction.
Hugh, one of the things that you're doing really interesting also in your campaign is that you have an AI, I believe, coming up that we'll be able to access and have conversations with. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you're integrating that into this journey? Yeah,
I mean, I think you need to walk the talk, right? If I want to talk about AI and talk about being an AI hub, you need to be able to say, I believe in it, I'm using it. So not only are we using it, we're using it in a full way, and having people be able to go on and talk to a digital twin of myself and have access to that 24/7. It's an important way for people to hear my voice and ask any questions on their mind with maybe not a huge audience. It feels like a one-on-one. And it's me, it's me coming back at you. And, one of the ideas we have with that as well is, think of the conversations and dialogues we can have going forward with, really, any constituent, in the state. So what the goal would be to win the governorship and bring AI Hugh along with me and allow people to access and talk to the governor about what's on their mind, what's challenging them, what you don't think we're doing right. And think about, if you've worked with AI so far, think about how fast that process is, right? Like the ability for it to be able to call out key themes, key messages, allows me as governor to say, wow, we thought this was the direction, but we're really hearing different from the populace. We should reconstruct this, or we should talk to the legislators that are proposing that bill and say, here's the data we're getting on this. And, you can't do that with enough polls. You can't get out fast enough and get that return with any meaningful insight, but we can. And I think that's a really cool application of it.
Yeah. And I love how you are not only taking your time on building these tools for listening, but you're making listening as part of this journey, and having leaders that the best leaders are always the ones that are the best listeners.
Yeah.
And it's great to see that you are forcing that conversation, not only with your campaign, but others that are watching, not only running in the same position that you are, but possibly even thinking about running in the future, saying, I want to be a candidate like you. And I think that means the world for a lot of us that have been following your journey.
Well, thank you. You have to understand, people that know me well know that, like, I don't have an ego. Like, I've done everything in my life that matters. I don't need my name in lights under any circumstance. But I do care. I have a huge heart, even though I don't want that advertised in business per se. But I do care, and it breaks my heart sometimes when I see inequities. It just for today's day and time, they're not necessary, and I'm starting to see that divide get further. And I think it's time. Now's the time to make that change, and I think I can be a vehicle to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, we're halfway to we're closer to 2050 today than we are at 2000. Right?
Yeah.
So
that's scary. I hadn't thought of it that way.
So that's a wonderful opportunity, wonderful challenge, but a wonderful call to action as well.
Yeah.
With that said, Hugh, we'd love to do something really fun in the Future Human Experience podcast. We ask our guests to come with a surprise question for me.
Yeah.
So Hugh, what question do you have for me today?
Well, I was going to do a fun one, but I'm going to do a serious one.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, let's go.
So one of the things when I built Equality Health that I came to learn, I came to believe, and saw it over and over and over, and really talk about breaking my heart. I saw it frequently, and that is the concept of systemic racism. I saw it. It's a weird thing when it's, as a white man, where I know the intent maybe sometimes didn't go into it that way, but it ends up very racist. And I think a lot of people are caught in that, in this transitioning world that we're in. Is there a time in your life where you felt that, or even more direct than that, and you were like, really?
So I think systemically, some of the things that we've had, even conversation on this podcast about, what does diversity, inclusion, and equity really mean in certain organizations? And I remember vividly working in one of these organizations in the tech sector and informing other people, saying, you know what, people that are part of this organization really don't want to do this work for a long time. Like, if anything, we want to disrupt ourselves. Like, we don't want our next generation to have this job, right? We really don't want to be here. And that's a really aha moment for a lot of people, right? They're like, well, you just in this job because it's a cozy job and you just want to be there. It's like, no, we really don't want to be here for a long time, if not at all. That's one way that I think I've kind of helped move that conversation or shift the perspective a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I think the other way that's happened is because of sometimes these programs, when I would get certain jobs, it would be like, well, I only got them because of these programs and not because of my skill sets or not because of my experience or not what I could bring to the table. And that was disheartening, to be honest with you. And so I think also breaking some of that, part of it also kind of comes into an imposter syndrome. I was like, then you start believing it. And I've been very fortunate that I've had a really good support system around me. Just say, hey, you know what, Eric? No, you belong here. This is a great role for you. And so I was always been very helpful is the way that when you get challenged in these type of situations, who is around you to help you navigate some of those challenges. And that could be a leader, that could be a mentor, that could be a sponsor, that could be a spouse, a parent as well. Yeah. Right.
Well, it's interesting. One of the, I love how you really talked about two important things in that. DEI and merit, right? Yeah. And your merit's there, right? Yeah. So, do I even have to think there's a DEI angle, right? That it bothers you. And DEI has gotten to be a bad word, but that's correct. When I was building equality, talked with one of the gentlemen who built our foundation, Tomas Leon. Yeah. And we were talking about how do we bring equity and inclusion into our company before it was a thing. Correct. And the reason we did it was because, here's an example. We had a software business, and that software business had a lot of Eastern Indian developers, which you see frequently. And one of the ladies that was in that was had asked to be in marketing, and we were like, and everybody's like, what? And so they were ready to kick the resume out, and I go, has anyone looked at her background? She had a master's from Stanford in marketing.
What?
So we're like, oops, okay, so are we typecasting? Are we starting to think the wrong way? We need to be thinking more broadly about people's skills and their capabilities and not what we would generally identify with. And so that was a really powerful thing. And then, as you said, merit. Merit is such an important thing. And, I've seen just so much brilliance, honestly, in this Latino community. It's exciting. I mean, that's why I get excited about our future. Is I go, oh my gosh, the community has got some real all-stars. And one of the things you cannot fake, I always say this to my own kids, you can't fake ambition. Ambition is there or it's not there. And I see a ambitious next generation coming, and it gives me huge optimism for the future. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
No, Hugh, we're excited for you. I mean, what brought us here was the manufacturing sector. Within the first 60 days that we were here, I got a call from my parents saying, why are you in Arizona? Because I hear that there's a thing called SB 1070. Oh, yeah. They're stopping people. The most known politician over there is this guy named Joe Arpaio. Like, what are y'all doing? And I was like, it's okay. And the reason why I told him it was okay was because I get to be part of a community that wants something different. And that is what, I could see the future be much more brighter because of the people involved in the community. Yeah. And those could be headlines today, but it's not going to be our future tomorrow. Yeah. And it's individuals like yourself, individuals like Mas Leon, who we've also had on this podcast as well, that are example of what the future of Arizona could be, where we could come together and build something much more greater for the next generation.
Awesome.
So Hugh Lytle, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. How can people find you, stay connected with your campaign, and get involved?
Well, look, do me a favor, talk to everyone because I need everybody. This is a movement. I need you to get eyes on. Follow my social media at Hugh for Governor, HUGH, Hugh for Governor, and go to my website at hughlytle.com. Both will give you information or connect you. And we'd love to, if you have the energy and spirit to want to volunteer, we'd love to have you. We're going to be doing lots of community events, engaging directly with the people in this campaign. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Hugh, we'll have links to all that in our show notes. I know you have some upcoming events, hopefully right after this is posted. So we'll have a link to all that in the podcast as well. Well, awesome. Hugh Lytle, thank you again for being part of the Future Human Experience.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I'm inspired to hear that these conversations are resonating within our communities, our organizations, our companies, and our households all around the world. If you found this conversation to be valuable, please take the time to like, subscribe, and share it with someone else. I do believe that as the future gets much more digitized, it gives us an opportunity to be much more human as well. And these conversations are part of that journey. So if you're enjoying the content on this channel, please check out these videos. Thank you.